What is up, guys? It's your boy obbldude, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about crafting, but specifically how crafting can kind of pertain to mining and even hunting. But I'm going to talk a little more specifically about mining since that's what I mainly know about, but a little bit on the hunting probably as well. But I wanted to talk a little bit about not wasting your items potentially. Right. And that's kind of where crafting's really powerful, and that's where crafting really kind of comes in a lot of ways. Because like for example, let's say you're hunting, right? And you're getting animal eye oil and maybe animal muscle oil, right? And they don't really have much of a markup worth putting on auction because it's typically so low that you can barely make up the auction cost anyway, or you're breaking even, and then at that point you might as well TT it anyway. But that's where crafting kind of comes in handy, right? Because, for example, when you're hunting and if you're getting animal eye oil and muscle oil, you can pretty much craft those into simple one conductors, and those have a markup that can be sold on auction. And right now, they're actually at a pretty good markup. I think they're over 10%, maybe close to 15%, something like that. Maybe a little lower than 15, but like 10 plus percent, not bad at all compared to like unsellable on auction because those two materials are pretty low markup. So this video is kind of more centered towards newer players or players that might have been playing for a little bit, but like kind of like me, where I kind of fell into the game loop of, oh, get what I get, you know, oh, this doesn't really have enough markup, TT it, all that. And I haven't been doing that for a decent amount of time now. I don't know how long it's been, but I try to, unless I need cash like right away and I don't mind taking that small loss, I'll still TT things a couple times here and there. Like if there's an event or I want to jump into something or I see something on auction that I think might go soon because I've been looking for it for maybe like a few weeks to a month, and I'm like, wow, I found it. This is exactly what I want. So, if I need cash quick, I'll still TT things, don't get me wrong. But a lot of times, I'll have the time to spare and wait, and I'll try to kind of craft things, right? Now, it really only becomes worth doing it that way if you have enough skills to craft, and if your blueprint quality rating is maxed out, right? And you can buy maxed out blueprints as well, but they're a lot higher markup, obviously. And it's harder to find them. You got to sit and wait for them. I used to do that a little bit more than I should have, but I figured it'd be cheaper to just buy it with the quality already there versus trying to grind out that blueprint even though I had the skills. But there's still blueprints that I grind out because I need to. If you have the skills to craft it and you have the quality rating maxed out, it can be worth trying to craft something like simple one conductors if you're hunting and you're getting animal eye and muscle oil, for example. Or if you're mining, for example, which is something that I've been kind of doing here and there. If you're mining, there's certain things that take, listerium, narc, um, and a few other, like bloss even. Bloss kind of bounces around along with narc. Sometimes it's at like 2% and it's like you might as well TT it. And sometimes it's like closer to 5% or 4%. And then you're like, okay, well, might be more worth doing it because, again, with crafting, you got to kind of remember you're still going to get misses. You're still going to get near misses or near hits. So you'll end up pretty much losing a little bit more than if you tried to like sell it at 4 or 5%. That's why, like, if you have Bloss or Narc and it's close to 5%, I'd probably just sell it as is, me personally. Unless I know that I'm gonna be able to get a lot more out of it otherwise, which I highly doubt because that usually does not happen. It kind of all depends on where the markup is. But my main point is if you have like a bunch of stuff that like doesn't really have much of a markup in auction, you might be able to find a blueprint for it and then stick them all in there, and you might be able to craft enough maybe to get a higher markup item, but it's still tough to do. Like I've been playing around with it a little bit, and I've noticed with amplifiers, if you're crafting amplifiers, that's mainly narc, bloss, and list. And if you're crafting some, along with other items too, but if you're crafting like amps, for example, for mining, I've noticed like even with the misses, you can kind of make it up if you're crafting like amps or things for mining, if that makes sense. From what I've kind of experimented with, which so far has just been one type of amp. I'm still trying to skill up so that I can craft a higher level amp, which honestly, I don't even know if it's going to be worth crafting the higher level amp because I'm going to have to either buy a fully quality rating blueprint for it, which I don't want to do, to be honest. I'd rather just grind it up at this point since I have the skills. I feel like it might be more better to just grind it up, to be honest. So I have to grind it up first because I never skilled up the screws blueprint, the basic screws. So I would need that for the next amp. And I just don't know if it would be worth it anyway because I'm only getting like I think like 20 extra ped in TT value and like an extra 2%. So going from 7% to 9% in total. But the amplifier that I'm using that I'm crafting now when I have like the extended resources and it makes sense to when I craft amps, I already have the basic sheet metal blueprint to maxed out. So, I'm good doing that because I don't have to grind it out because it's already grinded out because I grinded that out like a while ago. And then I stopped doing it. But with the amps, it takes only like 5 sheet metal. So like having that blueprint maxed out and I craft my own and then I mine the rest of the stuff for the amp. It's pretty lucrative, or it seems like it so far. I've only been doing it for like a short time, like not even a month. I think close to when this event started, I kind of had that idea and started kind of playing around with it. So, when you got a bunch of low markup stuff, it's definitely worthwhile to just see if you can get a blueprint for not too much because again, you don't want to spend like 500 ped so that you don't fully waste your list unless it like makes sense to. You want to kind of see like what you can craft, what's worth crafting, and that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. And that's what I kind of like about this game too because like there's really not much info about it, so like you kind of just got to like come up with an idea and then just try it and just see how it goes and then just kind of go from there. um but if I was like trying to craft like explosive projectiles just out of pocket cash, I don't think that's a very good idea, even though the markups gone up. But I mean, because now you got to recycle items, right, to get the nano cubes. So you're pretty much like losing the items to get nano cubes. And I mean, I feel like the markup just isn't worth it for that. I mean, it is good. It is a good feature for like, if you got a certain item that has no markup or hard to sell and you just want to see if you can make it a little more, I guess it's fine. But like, yeah, I feel like crafting something else out of it where people are going to use it a lot more. Because the upside about me going from crafting the amp I'm doing now to the one that I'm going to be doing once I have enough skills, um, one big upside is there's a lot more volume for the higher level amp, which means it's going to be easier to sell. And I'm pretty excited about that because even though, so it really depends. I mean, if I don't, I mean, I haven't really had much trouble selling this amp so far, but could be maybe in the future more lucrative to sell the higher level one, even though it's really not much of a higher jump. And I got to grind out the screws, which I guess I probably should get basic screws anyway, because it's probably going to be useful for other things too. But I've been kind of thinking, I've been kind of getting into crafting again a little bit, because I've been trying to figure out ways on how I can get my mining resources that I get, how to make them go further. You know what I mean? Like, because there's a lot of stuff with low markup, right? And if you can get it to higher markup, like for example with Force Nexus, I don't sell Force Nexus straight up unless it's 10% or higher. And even still, I might not. Because what I'll do is I'll sweat every so often and build up some sweat, and I'll see people like selling sweat for a certain amount, and if it's like around a ped per k or close to that, I usually don't go above 1.2 or 1.3, and I haven't done it in a really long time. You know, sometimes if the price is right and people are selling it in chat, I'll even buy some from them and get some extra sweat on the low. um Versus like if you went to auction, you'd spend like double that, if not triple. I'm pretty sure from what I've seen anyway. I've only looked at it on auction like once or twice. But, I just slowly build up some sweat, slowly build up the force when I'm mining and stuff. And then, whatever I have in sweat, I'll try to, make, I believe, mind essence with that. Yeah, the mind essence, with however much sweat I have, I'll try to make as much mind essence as I can. And then whatever I have left in Force Nexus, if it's a lot, I'll sell it if the markup's right. If not, I'll hold on to it and just try to get more sweat. That way, I can sell it as mind essence and get 20% instead of like 3 or 4%. I don't even know what Force goes for these days. I know at one point it was going for like 10% back in the day, but now I have no idea. But I know the last time I saw the markup, I think it was like, I don't know, a month or two maybe ago. Um, it was like 4%. So, going from 4% to 20%, a lot better. And it's sweat, so you don't even have to buy it. Like if you grind enough, like you just get that for free. And that's honestly the best way to do it. And that's usually what I try to do. And I don't record those. I just do it on my own. And then, while I'm sweating, if I see a good price for sweat, I'll pick some up as well just to get a little bonus because, I can get Force Nexus at a faster rate than I get sweat. You know what I mean? So need that little bit of a boost, but I don't think it's a bad price getting a couple thousand or so for that. I mean, it's not bad. Like I said, I haven't done it in a while. I still have a decent amount of sweat stacked up from like a few years ago, and just sweating still here and there in general. And actually, speaking of it, I do need to get a little bit more. Um, but like with Force, that's what I try to do, and then I'll either sell the rest in Force, or if there's another recipe that calls for Force that's worth crafting, I'll do something like that. But I haven't really done that specifically, or at least not yet. But trying not to TT anything, in my opinion, is going to be your best bet. Like, unless you need the cash right then and there and you just want to play, which I've been there a couple times where I'm like, I know this is a bad idea. I normally wouldn't, but I really want to play a little. And this has like 1 or 2% markup. Like, I just want to do some mining. I'm not putting this on auction. It's pointless. I'll just TT it. Sometimes things call for that and it makes sense. But a smarter way of doing it is all that low markup loot like Listerium, Bloss, even Narc. I think Narc's gone up a little bit since I last checked, but There was a time where narc was even at like 2%, you know, and that was one of the better ones way back in the day, like when I started. Like I dreamed about narc when I was like a level 1 miner. But with all that, you know, the least amount that you TT is going to be the best way to go in my opinion. Cuz if you can at least be efficient crafting what you're crafting, and even if you're crafting certain materials that you need that might be like a 30% markup and you can craft those like the sheet metal, and then you have like the lower markup stuff like for the amplifier, you can craft some amps. And I mean that amp is like, I can't I want to say it's like, no, I think that's the other one I got. It's like between 55 and 100 ped, right, when you craft one, but it is limited. So you're not going to get the full TT unless you go full quantity, which I'm still kind of tinkering with that, whether or not I want low quality or not, because I don't know, with a limited amplifier, you need like the full TT for that. And that's a little harder to get, so it might not make sense, but if you got the skills for it, could be lucrative. But I've been kind of just tinkering with it a little bit and just kind of messing around with it and just kind of testing it out. But, you know, like with hunting, the simple one conductors, though, I do that all day. There's like no risk to that at all. But I found like, but I was interested in like possibly crafting amps or something like involving mining as well, just because I noticed a lot of the recipes that have to do with like mining when it comes to crafting, they're usually, all you need usually is like the resources that I mine all the time anyway. Now, as long as the markup's really low on the materials, it makes sense to kind of attempt it at least. But I'm pretty sure even the amp that I have currently that I'm crafting, I'm pretty sure that's still 100. But I'm not sure if I'm getting it confused with the other one that I have. But I'm pretty sure they're both about. Oh yeah, the other one's like 20 more. That's right. So yeah, it's still 100. Yeah, so it's like 100 ped if I craft it like full TT, right? So I mean, if you can get it like pretty quick and you got the skills and you're not like getting miss after miss after miss, it could be lucrative. And right now for me, I'm kind of on the fence because I'm not the best crafter. I don't have that many skills in it, but I have enough to where I'm technically maxed out on what I'm doing currently. So like I do okay. And again, I don't know how much better I could possibly do or not, but so far it's kind of like on the fence right now. I still got to do it a little more and see if it's even worth it. It takes a little while to build back up the resources to kind of try it again and see what I think, but I'm not spending the markup and buying the materials, no way, especially for the sheet metal. But even the other materials too, even though the markup's low still, I don't even want to spend that markup when I can when I naturally accumulate all that stuff anyway while I'm mining. You know, it just doesn't make sense. So might as well just keep mining and build more of that stuff up to try to make more amps. Because the thing is, like, if I can get like 2 full TT hits of it, which is probably like super unlikely, that would be huge. But again, I'm still kind of in the testing phase. That'll probably be disastrous if I'm being honest. Um, but I'm not saying amps are the way to go. I'm just saying that's just been what I've been messing with. But what I'm saying is, in general, if you can find a good blueprint that kind of aligns with the low TT, I mean, the low markup items that you get, whether you're hunting or mining, you know, if you can find a good blueprint with all that, that would be ideal. And ideally, that doesn't have a TT to it like amps, right? Like you want the simple one conductors. You want to be able to make the sheet metal, to be honest, because that's got a pretty good markup. That's another thing I've been messing with is just selling the sheet metal. And so far right now, just messing with it a little bit and spending just a little bit on it. Um, it seems like it's been going better selling the sheet metal lately. I know in the past when I tried doing it, I couldn't sell it at all. Like I was doing like I don't know, but now it seems to be working out a little bit better. So it's a pretty good markup item. Just going for sheet metal itself, and I'm pretty sure sheet metal has two mining things to it. I believe it's the Alliance's gel that you need, and then it's some kind of ingot. I don't fully remember. I'd have to take a look at the blueprint. I don't have it with me, but it's like an ingot that's like pretty common, and the gel, and that's about it. Like to make the sheet metal, so it's really not that bad. When it comes to just passively mining, trying to get like specific things that are higher in markup. Because that way, when you stack up the higher markup items, you can just sell them as is, as ingots for the good markup. And then all the low markup stuff like 2, 3, probably 4 is kind of pushing it, but 2 or 3 or lower. Um, finding something decent that you can craft with it that can get you an actual decent markup is definitely the way to go, and definitely something to try to research or look into, or just look on auction. That's usually where I get most of my research. Is I'll spend like, when I log on, I'll spend like 30 minutes, maybe an hour, looking on auction for certain things, just seeing what's out there on the daily and trying to get familiar with all the different stuff out there, if that makes sense. And that's something I highly recommend doing, because you never know what you'll find. You'll never know what kind of blueprint you'll find where you're like, oh, I didn't even know this blueprint existed, but I get all these materials all the time, minus like maybe one or two materials that you might need to learn how to craft or spend a little bit of markup on auction to get. But if like 75, 80% of what you need to craft it, you can like get pretty easily from whatever it is you're doing, hunting, mining, whatever it is. Typically that's going to be the blueprint to go for. And then and especially if they're low markup items as well, right? So, and then that's one way to kind of potentially profit more off of your non-profit, if that makes sense, because you have like not enough markup to really do anything with it, and then you craft something with that low markup items, and now you got a higher markup item, right? And the sheet metal is a really good one, I think. I gotta still do some more playing around with it, but I think the sheet metal might be a winner. But it is still kind of a tough sell, just because I think the supply is a little bit bigger than the demand, maybe. But there are some decent blueprints that take it though, so it really just depends on who's crafting what, really. Um, but yeah, just something to think about. Try not to TT your low markup items. Try to find a blueprint or a way you can craft something with it that can get you something with a higher markup. And that's why I really like the mind essence, because it doesn't take the crafting terminal. It uses the refiner. So you craft it with the refiner, so you get like a exact amount back with a higher markup, which is why I like that a lot. Because there's no like misses, there's no clicks. It's just like a straight conversion, and it's super nice. Because it's like taking something with like 4% markup and like no markup really, or like honestly a little too high a markup, but something that doesn't really sell very well, like the sweat. You take two of those and you combine them, and now you got 20% that does sell well and does sell in volume, and it's a straight conversion. Oh yeah, I'll take that all day. That's why that's like my number one thing. And that's why I love crafting them with force and sweat, cuz it's pretty decent. Ooh, nice. That was a decent one. That was a decent hit. So, just something to think about. Try to craft your low markup items. Don't TT them. Get more into crafting, because I've been kind of getting more into crafting, and it's kind of fun because it adds more versatility to the game and makes the game a little bit different. So it's kind of nice. But yeah, get into that. Try not to TT anything, because you're going to just lose more that way, honestly. Like I said, sometimes you got to, but I would try to avoid it at all costs and find another way based on how you play and what you get for loot and things like that. So, anyway, guys, that's the video. Just wanted to talk a little bit about mining, crafting, hunting, and how it all kind of comes together, and how to not and how to try to not waste markup and everything like that. But we got a pretty good loot here, though. So I'm just going to add this in. I kind of spaced and forgot to do the totals for this next video. So I did this video back to back with yesterday's video. So I feel like the easiest way to do it is just with my main total that I had. So I had 158 ped when I started the last video. So this video, I think I spent like closer to 50-ish or so, if that's right. Yeah, like 40 or 50. And then I spent 24, but I had 158. Now we got 86 probes left out of 158, though, in total. And then with all the loot together from yesterday's video and today's video, we are at 87 ped. And then if we apply 87 to 86 ped that we still have left over, that's like 170 ped. So we're up right now, TT, another 10 or 12 ped, I think, so far out of those two runs. So we're doing pretty decent right now on some of these runs. Even when they look pretty bad, um, they end up coming out not too bad in the end. So that's a good thing. And I'm excited to keep upgrading this finder as well, because I think it's only going to get better from there, because now I'm getting considerables, as you guys saw. Now I'm getting considerables like without an amp or anything, so definitely worth it, I think. So um anyway, guys, that's the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell as well. Hit the like button, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.